Let's be honest about that $100 in your trading account, that tiny flicker of hope you feel when the deposit clears. You stare at the charts, you place a bet, and for a moment, a flash of green makes you feel like a genius. You think, this is it, this is the one that takes me to the moon. And then just as quickly, the market turns. That green candle becomes a brutal, soul-crushing red wick that evaporates your entire account. Again. Just like the last $100 and the one before that. You call this trading. Let me tell you what it is. It's a voluntary tax you pay to Wall Street for a lesson you keep refusing to learn. You aren't trading. You're buying lottery tickets with worse odds, and you're being charged for the privilege of watching them burn. You think the problem is your strategy. It's not. The problem is that your entire mental operating system is designed to make you poor. So you search for answers. You follow the gurus on Twitter, you watch the clowns on financial news, and you pay for subscriptions to services that promise you the next big thing. They're all selling you the same profitable lie, that a secret indicator, a perfect chart pattern, or a hot stock pick is what separates you from the wealthy. That is garbage. The truly successful don't hunt for tips. They operate on a completely different level. They don't think like traders. They think like casino owners. They think like venture capitalists. They understand the game isn't about being right all the time. It's about structuring your bets so that your wins are monumental and your losses are insignificant. In the next few minutes, I'm going to rip apart the financial programming that's keeping you broke and give you the mental framework that turns a $100 gamble into the foundation of a fortune. Before we can build the right mindset, we first have to bulldoze the wrong one. And for most of you, your mind is a minefield of financially self-destructive habits. These are the loops that guarantee you stay poor. First is the lottery ticket mindset. You're not investing, you're chasing the 100x jackpot. You throw your money at meme stocks and flavor-of-the-month cryptocurrencies, hoping to get rich overnight. The negative financial loop here is insidious. You get one small lucky win, a 30% pump, and the dopamine hits your brain like a drug. You feel like a genius. But that gain isn't a profit. It's a down payment on your future financial ruin. It validates a disastrous strategy. So you double down, taking an even bigger, more reckless bet, and that's when the market wipes you out completely. You blame bad luck, deposit another $100, and start the cycle all over again. Second, you suffer from indicator addiction. You believe the key to wealth is hidden in a magical combination of technical indicators. You spend weeks jumping from RSI to MACD to Bollinger Bands, convinced that one of them is a crystal ball that can predict the future. Here's the loop. This addiction gives you the illusion of control. You think you're performing sophisticated analysis, but you're just staring at lagging derivatives of price action. When the indicator inevitably fails in a live market, you don't question your fundamental reliance on it. You blame the tool, and your solution is to go searching for a new indicator, a better magic spell. It's a perpetual, pointless cycle that prevents you from ever learning how markets actually work. The third mistake is confusing activity with progress. You feel that to be a trader, you must always be trading. You're glued to the 1-minute chart, scalping for pennies, clicking buttons because you have a deep-seated fear of inaction. Your broker loves you for this. The loop is a slow bleed, a death by 1,000 cuts. Every trade you make, you pay a commission, you pay the spread, and you slowly grind your account down to zero. That slow drain creates immense frustration, which inevitably leads to the most dangerous move of all, the emotional revenge trade. A massively oversized, desperate bet to win it all back, which serves as the final fatal blow to your capital. Finally, there is the deadliest sin of all. You are always the last man in. You suffer from a terminal case of FOMO, fear of missing out. You see a stock on the news after it has already run up 800%, and you think, I need to get a piece of that. You need to burn this into your brain. If an opportunity is being broadcast on the mainstream news, you are no longer the investor. You are the exit strategy. You are the liquidity for the smart money that got in 6 months ago. The loop is brutally simple. You buy at the peak of euphoria and you are forced to sell during the panic. You are a professional transporter of wealth from your account directly into the accounts of the patient. So we've bulldozed the rubble of the old foundation. Now we build. These are the new rules, not suggestions, not tips. These are the commandments of turning insignificant capital into a serious financial base. Rule number 1, stop trading, start owning. You are a capital allocator, not a gambler. From this moment forward, you are the founder and CEO of You Incorporated. That small account is your seed capital, and you will guard it with your life. You will never again place a trade. Instead, you will make investments. For every single position you take, you will write a simple one-page investment thesis. What is the asset? Why are you buying it? What is your unique edge or insight? What specific event or price will prove your thesis wrong, marking your exit for a loss? And what is your target for taking profits? Most importantly, you will never risk more than 2 to 5% of your total capital on any single idea. Your $100 account means your maximum risk per investment is $2. That's it. The most common pitfall here is crippling boredom. Your gambling brain, addicted to the dopamine of constant action, will scream at you that this is too slow, that you're missing out. You have to starve that voice until it dies. The economic justification for this is simple. You are aligning your behavior with the people who always win in the end. Casinos and insurance companies. The casino doesn't know if the next hand will be a winner or a loser. It doesn't care. It wins over decades because it has a small statistical edge that it deploys relentlessly over thousands of hands. Rule number 2, asymmetric risk is your only god. Forget fair fights. You are not looking for 50-50 bets. You are a hunter of rigged fights, fights that are heavily rigged in your favor. From now on, you will only consider opportunities where the potential upside is at least 5 and preferably 10 times larger than your potential downside. Instead of buying a blue chip stock hoping for a 10% gain while risking a 10% loss, you are looking for the beaten down, forgotten company with a powerful catalyst on the horizon. An investment where if you're wrong, you lose your $2, but if you're right, you make 20 or 50. The common pitfall is confusing this with blind gambling. The amateur chases $1 million prize with a 99.999% probability of total loss. That is not asymmetry, it is financial suicide. Asymmetry requires a plausible thesis that gives you a realistic chance of that massive upside. This entire doctrine is justified by the venture capital model that built Silicon Valley. VCs know that 7 or 8 of their 10 investments will fail, losing everything. They don't care, because the 1 or 2 that succeed will return 50 or 100 times their investment, paying for all the losers and generating the fund's legendary returns. With a small account, you don't have the luxury of grinding out small wins. You must import the VC mindset. Just look at the tale of 2 traders. Trader A wins 8 out of 10 trades. He feels incredible. He makes $10 on each of his 8 wins, but loses $50 on each of his 2 losses. After 10 trades, this successful trader has lost $20. Now look at Trader B. He loses 7 out of 10 trades, losing his max risk of $10 each time. He feels like a failure, but his 3 wins were asymmetric home runs, returning $40, $60, and $100. After 10 trades, this losing trader has a net profit of $130. Who do you want to be? Rule number 3, you are paid to wait, not to act. Your default action in the market is now nothing. Your primary job is not to find trades, it is to protect your capital. You must create a non-negotiable checklist for your perfect A+ investment setup, and you will do absolutely nothing for days, for weeks, maybe even a month, until the market serves you that exact pitch. Sitting in cash is a position. It's the most powerful position because it gives you the option to strike when the perfect opportunity finally appears. The pitfall is psychological torture. The need to be in the game is immense. Your brain will invent reasons to take B- setups just to feel the action. This is where discipline is forged. Resisting the urge to act is more important than any single trade you will ever make. The economic justification is that the market is a machine designed to transfer wealth from the impatient to the patient. All that frantic, day-to-day noise on the charts, that's the sound of impatient people giving their money to the patient ones. Think of the investors who sat out the dot-com bubble in 1999. They were called dinosaurs. They were mocked in the media for not getting the new paradigm. They watched from the sidelines as teenagers became paper millionaires. And then the crash came. While everyone else was wiped out, they stepped in with their war chest of cash and bought the future of the global economy for pennies on the dollar. Their fortunes were not made when they bought. They were made while they were waiting. And the final rule, sell the narrative, not the price. This is the most advanced step. Markets are not driven by numbers and spreadsheets in the short term. They are driven by stories. Before you enter an investment, you must be able to clearly articulate the dominant narrative that everyone believes. This company's AI will change the world. This new technology makes energy free. You buy when that narrative is still gaining believers, and you sell when one of two things happens. Either new information emerges that proves the narrative false, or the narrative becomes so widespread that it reaches peak saturation. The moment your Uber driver is giving you stock tips on a company, the story is over. It's time to sell to him and walk away. The common failure point here is deadly. You fall in love with your own story. You start to believe the hype. You become a fan, not a ruthless speculator. You filter the world for information that confirms your bias and ignore the warning signs that the narrative is breaking. The justification for this is found in George Soros's theory of reflexivity. He understood that in markets, perception doesn't just reflect reality, it actively creates it, for a while. A rising stock price attracts more believers, whose buying pushes the price higher, which in turn validates the story and attracts even more believers. It's a feedback loop. By understanding that you are trading the life cycle of a belief, you can profit from the entire arc, from its birth in obscurity to its death in the public spotlight. So this is where you stand at a crossroads, and there are only two paths forward. Path 1 is the road you've been on. You can continue to be the financial victim. You can keep buying lottery tickets, chasing gurus, and serving as the exit liquidity for the smart money. You can remain a gambler, donating your capital to the market in exchange for brief, intoxicating hits of hope. That road is wide, it is crowded, and it leads directly off a cliff. Path 2 is the road less traveled. It is the path of the financial sovereign. It's the path of discipline, patience, and ruthless emotional control. It's the path where you stop being a gambler and you become the house. You become a professional capital allocator who hunts for asymmetric opportunities and waits, with the coiled stillness of a predator, for the perfect moment to strike. There is no third path. You are on one of these roads right now. So you have to decide. Look at that money in your account. Is it a lottery ticket, or is it the seed capital for your new enterprise? Is it a desperate gamble, or is it the first brick in the foundation of your financial freedom? The market does not care about your hopes. It only responds to your discipline. Stop gambling, start building. The choice is yours to make.